Howdy! Welcome to Aspire Mountain Academy. I'm Professor Curtis, your instructor for this course in Introductory Statistics. In less than 10 minutes, this video provides additional practice with using hypothesis testing for linear correlation. Let's get started. So let's look at an example that involves campus crime. And I'm kind of wondering, it's like, dude, how did you get that crowbar into the door there? It's like by that time it should be pretty much, what is that, a door? Is that a window? I don't know. I mean he's got that curved part there in the actual, so it's like he I don't know. Looks like he should be in by now. He's practically in already. Anywho, here we got data down here at the bottom. So here our data table, we have enrollment in thousands of students. So 32 is not 32. 32 is 32,000. 31 is really 31,000. 53 is really 53,000. But we just shorten it up so that we can get everything there in the table. And then number of burglaries for the enrollment. And so we've got a number of randomly selected colleges here. And we're looking at trying to find a relationship between the two. So same standard questions that we've seen before from the previous mini lecture. The final question, do the results change if the actual enrollments are listed as, just put in the 32,000 instead of representing it as 32. Does that change anything? So we can answer this. We just take this one step at a time. So the first question asks about a scatter plot. So, and you can get this out of our StatCrunch group. It should be there under campus crime. So check that out if you want to follow along there in StatCrunch. Anywho, what does the scatter plot of the data look like? Well, once you get the data into StatCrunch, really easy to get your scatter plot. Just go to Stat, Regression, Simple Linear. Then select your data columns there in the Options window. Press Compute. And then you can advance the second page of your results to get the scatter plot. And you're going to find the correct answer here is answer option A. Remember, you can always adjust your plot area and the axis values if you need to in order to find a better match for your scatter plot. Next question was, what is the linear correlation coefficient? Well, we've already done the regression analysis when we made the scatter plot, so you don't have to go through menu options again. Just hit that left arrow there on the bottom of your results window. It takes you back to that first page, and it looks something like this. You read the value right off the window there. So here is your R value, located here at the top, 0.561. What is the test statistic? Well, here they're talking about the true test statistic, and that's going to come from your parameter estimates table. Look at the value there for the slope, not the intercept. The p-value going to be right next door to that last value listed there in that table, 0.0914. So now you've got the values you need to resolve your hypothesis test. It's really easy to go in at the 5% significance level. Do we have sufficient evidence to conclude linear correlation? Well, you can use the critical R value to answer the question. So here's your critical R value table. Notice the number of pairs data samples that you got. So how many data points do you have that are in pairs? Okay. And then we're testing at the 5% significance level. So when you match those two up, you're going to get 0.632. 10 pairs of data, 5% significance level. That's where those two cross over. So there's our critical value that we'll use. And then we just compare that with the R value we get from the data. And the R value we get from the data is not quite high enough to get over that threshold. Therefore, we do not clear the bar. And therefore, we do not have linear correlation. Okay, again, if you're asked for critical values, remember you got two because you're just looking at general linear correlation. You're not examining positive or negative, just general linear correlation. So you've got two critical values, one on the left, which is negative, one on the right, which is positive. The other way to get at your conclusion is to compare the p-value with your significance level. And when you do that, the p-value that we saw earlier, 0.0914, is going to be greater than our 5% significance level. So it doesn't fit inside the region of rejection. Therefore, we reject the null hypothesis. We fail to reject the null hypothesis. Therefore, it could be true. The null hypothesis says there's no linear correlation, so we have no linear correlation. Either way, there is insufficient evidence. We failed to reject H0, so there's insufficient evidence to conclude linear correlation. Do the results change if the actual enrollments are listed as 32,000, 31,000, so on and so forth? Well, if you remember what we talked about earlier when we talked about the properties of the linear correlation coefficient in a previous mini lecture, we said it doesn't matter as long as you change the scaling for all your all your data values the same way, it's not going to have an effect on R. So the results are not going to change. But if you want to prove it to yourself, go into StatCrunch and list the values out. 32,000, 31,000, so on and so forth. Redo the analysis, and you'll see that there's absolutely zero change in the value for R. It does not change one whit. So, let's take a look at a different question. What if we were to remove the outliers from our data set? Because we do have outliers. If you look at your data set here, it's easier to see it if you actually put it on a scatter plot. So here's an outlier, here's an outlier, here's an outlier. These values are significant outliers from our data set. So it's easier to see this on the scatter plot, like I said, but just look at the values here. So here you've got a 30 and you're around 100, but when you increase to 50, here you go down to 86. But then if you go down to 28, you're down to 57. Yeah, something's not. If you go up with the one, you should go up with the other, because that's the general trend here you see with the data. See over here 36, 42, 131, and 157. As you go up with enrollment, you tend to go up with the burglaries. So this where you go up with the enrollment but down with the burglaries, yeah, that's going to be an outlier. Same thing with these values here. So if you look, you've got 31, 32, you're sitting at 103, but here's 34, pretty much next door to these guys, and yet look at the corresponding number of burglaries, 27. Okay, same thing here with this data point right next to it, the 30, 20. Okay, so if you look at the data, you can kind of tell that they're outliers, but it's much easier to see on a scatter plot. Now, what happens if you take those values out? Remove the outliers. You've got 7 data points left, and now look at your scatter plot. It looks pretty decent. Okay, and yeah, it's not the best, but look at that R value. It went up to 0.93. So great improvement in your R value just by getting rid of those outlying data points. So this is why you do the analysis for outliers, because oftentimes if you can justify removing them, then you can actually improve the model substantially. We can compare this to see if it's good enough. It's going to be, because here's our 7 data points, or 7 pairs of data rather, 0.754 for an alpha level of 5%. So yeah, we definitely cleared that bar. So yes, here we conclude that there is linear correlation. So yeah, removing those outliers can make a big difference if you can justify doing it. You can't do it just willy-nilly. You have to have some justification for doing it. So going back to the data, you found that there was a transcription error with these data points, or that there was something fundamentally different about these 3 colleges that made them, radically different from the other colleges that were there in the data set. Some characteristic that separates them out. You can't just remove them willy-nilly. You've got to have justification for it. But if you can find the justification, by all means take it out, because it'll make your model that much stronger. That brings us to the end of this mini lecture. I hope you found it helpful. You can find more mini lectures for this and other courses at AspireMountainAcademy.com. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.